Recording. And so I didn't know which way to go. I prepared my previous thinking for the order which is there on the website. You can find chapter by chapter. And because of Gita Shri was asking about the rishis, so I have it also. I have them both. So I will start with what I wanted to give you today, and then we will shift to the rishis, okay? Let me project this. You see the projection, yeah? Yes. So this was the announced topic, the Vedic vision and the triple transformation in integral yoga. How these two things correlate. We had this long ago at the beginning. You remember Vedic vision? We spoke about this triple transformation, but it is the fundamental topic for the Veda and for integral yoga. And so I would like to again come back to it in a new fashion, as it were. So you remember this also long ago. I made a scheme of similar kind. We have Satchitananda transcendental Paraprakriti. We have Aparaprakriti of Manas, Prana, and Annam. They are reflected, yeah, basically, which constitutes the symbol of Sri Aurobindo. We spoke about symbols yesterday, and this is exactly how he describes it. So there is the descent of the higher triangle into the lower hemisphere and ascent of the lower triangle into the higher. And in between this Vijnana, or this square, which is holding them both. So the two realities, transcendental being and being in time and space, are related through the supermind. Moreover, in the supermind, they are being framed. The manifestation is being framed in time and space. Yeah? So all the elements of Satchitananda are projected into the Annam, Prana, and Manas. If you look at the Vedic paradigm, we will see a very similar situation in a different language, but about the same. So we have Varuna, the purity and vastness of the divine being, Mitra, the luminosity of divine consciousness, Aryaman, the power, tapas, of the divine force and power, Bhaga, the divine bliss and delight. And then we have triple supermind, Daksha, Amsha, and Surya. This all belongs to Vijnana. So we have Sat, Chit, Tapas. Chit, Tapas is Chit, Ananda, and Vijnana. More elaborate. So they turn into the opposite one by one, starting with consciousness, Mitra, so to say, according to the mother's story in Savitri. Yes, then that pulls down the Aryaman and Bhaga. Yes, the delight turns into the suffering. That turns triple supermind, so to say, the truth, into the opposite. And these four, so to say, 1, 2, 3, these three, or there are many more in according this, they pull the purity and vastness of the divine being into its opposite, into death, into the inconscient matter. So the purity and vastness of the divine being turns into material, unconscious, inconscient existence. Yeah. So Varuna actually embraces by its own presence from the highest divine existence to the lowest divine existence. Yeah? And in the post-Vedic literature, Varuna is treated mainly as the godhead of the darkness, of the ocean. He is oceanic. He is sending some diseases. He is punishing the sinful ones, sinners, and so on. And even in the Veda, they're very afraid of Varuna. Vasishta is always praying to Varuna to forgive him his impurities, because he does not permit impurities. So you can see that Varuna, who is the highest divine existence, Sat, turns into Annam, yes? Mitra, who is the purity of the divine consciousness, turns into the inconscient or unconsciousness. So falls into the darkness. The light of consciousness turns into the darkness. Aryaman, who is the force, pure force of the divine existence, turns into Aryaman below, which is the unconscious blind energy, as Sri Aurobindo says. It does not have mitra with him anymore. So it is energy, but which is blind. And this is quite interesting because it is still at the energy, yes? It's not the weakness, but it is the power which does not have consciousness. And that's why most probably in the Veda, they always go together, Mitra and Aryaman. Aryaman has no separate hymn in the Veda. Yeah, there are many hymns to Varuna. There are many to Varuna and Mitra. And mainly when they are mentioned, Varuna and Mitra, Aryaman is implied. It's kind of following immediately Varuna and Mitra. There is only one hymn to Mitra by Vishwamitra, by the way, and there are many to Varuna and Varuna without the goddess. But there is none to Aryaman, because he is following Mitra, so consciousness force. There is no force without consciousness in the Veda. And then there is Bhaga. Bhaga, the delight, turns into the suffering. The Ananda turns into the opposite, and this triple supermind is put down also. The Surya, which is the manifestation of the seven brothers, turns into Vivasvat, into the Martanda, into the sun, which is involved, hidden in the inconscient, yes? And Daksha, which is the oneness, becomes the mind. Amsha becomes the one in many, and many in one becomes the vital here in this world. And Vivasvat becomes that basis of the energy below, the inconscient energy. So, and Aditi turns into Diti, her twin sister. Infinite consciousness bliss turns into the dividing, separating consciousness. You can see the same story as it is here in a different language, in the post-Vedic. It's absolutely the same if you analyze them and see how they work. It is the same triangle, two triangles of Sri Aurobindo with Vijnana in between. This is an important thing. So how it came into being, what is really going on here? Why I'm saying the triple transformation, what is really triple here? What is to be transformed? And why this scheme at all exists? There is a hidden reason which is never mentioned anywhere. This would never come into existence if there would be no interest in Purushottama to become many. So Purushottama becomes all this for the sake of becoming many. But how could he be many if he alone is? Yeah? So he has to manifest himself in the Paraprakriti, in his pure existence, pure consciousness, force, and bliss first. It is his Saguna Brahman, as it were. All this is called Brahman. This is Saguna, there is Nirguna beyond. Nirguna is somewhere in between all this and Purushottama, which is holding everything in its own kind of bubble, as it were. Asat, Brahman, Nirguna Brahman. But he had to be, first of all, and to be aware of himself, and to that awareness had to be bliss. That is already given. It is what he is, always beyond time and space. But then with supermind, he manufactured, as it were, within the truth of his existence, the projection into time and space, into non-existent bubble, his existent qualities. And that is what happened here. So why did he do this? There is one reason. He alone wanted to be many. So to be many, he had to do all this. Satchitananda Vijnana Manuspranananda. There is no need for him to be anything of this if there would be no desire in him, in Purushottama, to be many. He could be what he is always. Even to say what he is very relative, because there is no time there. Yes, I am using present tense in terms of beyond time. Yeah, so he is what he is. So he doesn't need anything else. But since he envisioned to be many, this all came into being. Why all this is important? Because this, in time and space, is creating the ground for him, this one, to be many. If this would not be here in time and space, he, this one, would never be many. Many is arranged and presented through time and space. That he could be spelled out. All his infinite qualities can be taken in time and space, yeah, and dealt with as if separate realities. If time and space would not come into play, everything is one light, yeah, so there is no many. Interestingly, in The Adventure of Consciousness, Satprem says, it's a quotation from Satprem, the key is Agni, the consciousness force, and the whole evolution can be described as Agni's journey in 4 movements: involution, devolution, involution, evolution. From the eternal center and within him, the fourfold movement is in fact he. All is he. Himself the play, himself the play, himself the playground. These 3 we have to remember. We will see them again and again in this triple transformation. He outside time, outside space, the pure being, the pure consciousness, the great white silence, where all is in a state of involution, self-contained, still formless. Now, what is this involution, devolution, involution, evolution? Usually, we never speak about these terms, even when we describe the integral yoga, but this is an important thing. And actually not easy to understand. It's easy to understand involution and evolution, more or less, yes? Everything which is evolving is involved, yeah? Otherwise, how? Where is it coming from, as Shubhenu says, if it was not there in the first place? If the mind was not involved in the vital and vital in the matter, why should matter at all produce any vital and vital produce any mind? It must be involved. So in the mind also the supermind is involved, which is evolving out of it. So everything involved evolves. But what is this? Yeah? Devolution. What is this devolution? Because there were 2 stages of creation which Mother describes, Vedas describe, Sri Aurobindo speaks about there's a beautiful article which is called the involved and evolving Godhead. Very short, but everything is there. If you want to know everything about the creation, it is in one article. So here, I'm coming back to my scheme, which I was already presenting, but didn't have enough time to really explain these things. And here you will see this process of involution, This is Satchit, Tapas, Ananda, and Vijnana, the transcendental being, never involved. But when it is projected through Vijnana, this is the projection, starting from 4, 1, 2, 3 is pure family, and then 4, it is something which is projecting it down into the manifestation of 5, 6, 7. 7 will be first appearance of inconscient or matter. Material inconscience will come into being. So mind, vital, and material inconscience comes into being. If you examine also the symbolically the figures, the geometrical figures, you will see an immense correspondence. Yeah, square 4 will be the supermind, 5 the souls, the mental monadas will be 5. The 5-cornered star is the mental monada. Mentality, free will. The 6 is 6-cornered star, the vital, exactly how it is described, because the vital connects 2 hemispheres, heaven and earth. And 7, finally, the house of where everything will be housed. It is the matter. So this is the first involution, first fall of first great emanations. And then what happens? And this is must be the evolution, but it is not the evolution yet, because there is nothing to evolve. It's just fallen being, creating all the grades. So what happens is what Satprem describes as devolution. It devolves, it kind of connects onto itself. It makes this bubble separately existing within the one luminous being. It is as if it was cast out of himself. And that's how they speak. He cast out of himself all these worlds. Cast out means we're out. There is no out. It is all in. It is in him. But out means that it has its own existent being, as it were, within the beings, within the infinite consciousness bliss. It has its own separate bubble existence in which. So for that, devolution was needed. There was a return to the supermind within this being, building the whole ladder of the involution. For the involution ladder to be sustained, this devolution is to take place.
So Vladimir, 5, 6, 7 is in the matter, in the physical plane. So it is in time and space?
Yes. All this below Vijnana is in time and space. All of them. Starting Manas, Prana, and Andam. This is in time and space all the time. So for the first time, time and space was manifested in mental, vital, and physical terms, and now it has to return to its origin and hold this bubble, this egg, this circle in its own, as it were. So it holds. This is the first worlds created, first emanations fallen and held within themselves, so to say. When this happened, Mother says in her story that Aditi, the Divine Mother, who is Satchitananda, it turned to the Supreme Purushottama, to him from somewhere, his force, and told him, look what happened. This, instead of creation you wanted to be many, this happened. They are there, non-existent, fallen, Satchitananda into their opposite, into the inconscient, and held there in the inconscient way of being. So he told her, find a new force and precipitate with these fallen emanations, this bubble, this creation. So she found in the Supreme the greater being, the greater consciousness, greater force, greater bliss then the first fallen emanations, and precipitated with them. They plunged into the inconscient first bubble. So when they plunged, this is the second creation. So as it is said in the Veda, everywhere, Atmanatmanam abhisam vivesha. He entered himself by himself. This is himself whom he entered by himself. But now this self who entered is conscious. And the purpose of it was to make these fallen emanations to come back to their self-awareness. So this was the second involution. So involution, devolution, involution of the conscious being, of the psychic being, of the flame, of Agni, of what we represent as the soul emanations of the divine. We entered here, and we entered here into the inconscient matter. And number 13 in the system of occultism is the first death. So the death takes place here. We die. We die to be born, and born to be die, because this will be the sacrifice of the spirit, sacrifice of the Divine Mother, holocaust of the Divine Mother, sacrifice of Purusha. Yeah? That Purusha will be now recreated through death and evolving from matter, dying matter constantly, to vital, to mental, and finally to the supramental. This is our evolutionary path. This is what we are going through today. So what is the third one then? And the third one is what Sri Aurobindo tried to do. He tried to bring down the supermind, supramental manifestation. He tried to take this, once this is done, the ascent, the descent of the supermind will take place. And once it is done, then there will be no more contradiction between these two, between our soul and our being, which we build up, our body. This is our bodies. This is our soul. Between them, there is a constant contradiction. One is aware, other is unaware. So here it is being built up. Here, with this descent, the reconciliation between the two contradictory creations is taking place. There is no more contradiction between the body and the soul. Body becomes an embodiment of the soul, total revelation, manifestation of the soul. This is, in occultism, it's very interesting to look into the laws, what these represent. And here it's quite interesting. 17 is the hope, 18 is the enemies, because the enemies have to be broke through. This is descent through all the obstacles of the supermind. And 19 is the X, which is breaking the ceiling or the roof of our being. And once the roof is broken, 20 is the head receiving light from above. 21 is the joker, or the fool, as they say, the zero arcanum, or the one who moves everywhere as if not knowing anything, but totally protected. Yes, the radiation, as it were. And 22 is the Divine Mother, dancing naked in the full sun, touching with her right hand the sky and with her left foot the earth. So she unites finally the transcendental Satchitananda with a manifestation in time and space. So this is what is expecting to happen in the future for us. So the descent of the supermind, making order in our mental, vital, and physical nature, changing them, making them capable of ascending and uniting finally the transcendental in this world. So this is the scheme which tells you everything, why these three major transformations about Sri Aurobindo speaks. Sri Aurobindo speaks about three transformations. Psychic, it is that which was sent to transform these fallen emanations. So the psychic transformation is here. Yeah? The change, the coming to the front of our individual being, which then will take into embrace the whole world. That means spiritual transformation. It will take first fallen emanations into itself, the universal mind, the universal vital, and the universal matter. And by doing these two, there will be the third one, the supramental transformation, which will open us to the Satchitananda and will change the whole manifestation into the touch of the Supreme. Everything will be full of delight, of Ananda. So you can see 3 cycles, 3.5 cycles. This is Kundalini Shakti, and which we were already speaking about. Yeah. Do you have any questions? I know this is maybe too much to take because it's the whole Veda and the whole integral yoga on one page.
No, it's very beautiful. It's absolutely perfect, because at the end you have 22 going into 22, 22 above going straight to 2, Chit Tapas. I mean, look at that. That is amazing.
Yeah. You know, Mother mentions pre-Vedic, pre-Chaldean tradition. This is taken from Chaldean tradition and put onto the Vedic.
Oh.
So this is the combination of two traditions on one page. If we will come to the studies of the occultism, you will see these laws, arcanums, one by one. What they represent, their symbols, their numbers, their letters, their colors. All of them have geometrical figures. And these symbolic meanings are all somehow archetypically related in our being. We know them already because we are not what we seem here on the surface. We are deeper, universal beings, who are projected, who descended here into this thing and took onto ourselves. We took onto ourselves this first fallen emanations. We are dealing with them as our own bodies. And we are these who are growing through this, changing this for the sake of this to happen. All right, that is major message.
So that's the huge sacrifice right there.
Yes, definitely. This is the sacrifice.
Yes.
This is the fallen emanations they were supposed to create, but they got separated from each other in the Supreme and they fell into their opposites, creating all the grades of being and consciousness in which, as ladder, we are rising.
We are rising through them. So
yes,
we go through all these fallen emanation and their attributes, if they have attributes. And that is the sacrifice, the suffering, the challenge, the pain. That we transform into conscious energy.
Yes. And there is an interesting thing, how we discovered the truth, and because it's all coming from the truth, Vijnana, and we discover the truth by matching our evolutionary discovery with involutionary truth. Once they are matched.
Can you say that again, please? I didn't get it.
For example, how do you discover that this is true? How do you know that this is true? Because there is a match. There is a match within first intention of creation with the evolutionary discovery of that match. with the first intention. And when it comes, we do not know about this because we don't analyze it in that way. But I think when this match is happening in evolutionary and involutionary leather, if they are matched, then you see, oh, this is how it is.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So there has to be a match between the involutionary and evolutionary.
Right. Because there is no other way to know. How do you know really what is what?
Yes, yes, yes.
You are evolving, you are building something new, but that new has to recognize the old intention. And
Yes.
when it recognizes the old meaning, it really gets that idea of knowing or comprehending.
Thank you.
So if you look at, this was the fall of the first creation, first cycle. Yes, it was the fall of the spirit which laid out the field for the future manifestation. All the levels of consciousness were unfolded, gradually creating all the worlds in the involutionary order, and evolution took it as a separate bubble. From light to darkness, from superconscious to the inconscient, from spirit to matter, all the levels were created. The second stage was the plunge of the supreme into the darkness of the material inconscience of the first emanations, bringing the aspect of the self into existence in terms of individual growth and realizations. That's how he became many. Yeah? He wanted to be many. He wanted to be many, not just to have many aspects of himself. He himself wanted to be many. So this projection of his own self into this, divided time and space field creates for him an opportunity to deal with himself now as if he is the second, as if with the other. He created the otherness of self. Yeah?
So this was through his desire.
Yes, absolutely. It was his intent. Desire is a big, desire. Whatever word we use, it will belong to our time and space. So it is just the symbol of something, of something which we cannot name even. Just he wanted to be many. Bahusyam, as it is said in the Veda. May I be many. What is it? Sa ikshata, they say. He saw. And Mother says, seeing on that level is also willing. He willed. He didn't desire. He willed. May I be many. From this point of view, matter becomes animated because the matter till that time wasn't really a matter which could be animated. There was no soma yet. From this time, soma comes into existence as a living matter, as an ambrosia, immortality within the mortality. Animated matter, growing, greenery. Greenery grows from the seed, gives fruits. It continues its life through time and space, through the seed. And we all living creatures are living like this, through animated matter. If that greenery would not be there, we would not have food to sustain our matter and to grow. That food is the secret. And secret is in animated matter by the spirit. We cannot eat stones and grow. It won't happen. Stones are not animated matter in that way, as soma. So it goes on until the psychic being is fully individualized. The evolution starts to take place from animated matter, grows more into the bodies, different animals, different fish, birds, and then finally man comes, and man embodies all the faculties of Purusha. He starts thinking, he starts living, he starts wanting to become immortal finally, and he goes on until the instruments of its expression, body, life, and mind are fully developed to embody the spirit. So we develop our faculties within that given material of the first fallen emanations. They are becoming more and more self-aware, gradually self-aware of what they can do, what they can be, what they are really in the divine sense. And finally, the third, which we are nearing to, is this the supramental descent or manifestation, which reconciles nature with the soul, with our body and our soul, which is a constant contradiction, enthrones the psychic being as the Lord of the creation and gives it a direct access to the higher realms of being and consciousness, establishing the law of the spirit in the whole nature. No more the transcendental deity and adity, no more. There is only adity everywhere, adity within the deity. Sri Aurobindo speaks about three transformations. I think we read this before. Yes? There are three statuses of the divine. It's interesting also, individual, universal, and transcendental, or we can say supramental. So to say individual is second creation, universal is the first creation, which has to be enlightened by the individual intrusion, and transcendental is what we call supramental manifestation. There are also three different statuses of transformation. First is psychic, in which all is in the contact with the divine through individual psychic consciousness. Second is the spiritual, in which all is merged in the divine, in the cosmic consciousness. That means psychic will enlarge itself and embrace the whole world. And the third is the supramental, in which all becomes supramentalized in the divine Gnostics consciousness. That means it is inviting the transcendental Satchitananda into play. Sri Aurobindo speaks about these three here. It is on psychic transformation. The psychic being is a flame born out of the divine, and luminous inhabitant of the ignorance grows in it, that which descended as second creation, till it is able to turn it towards the knowledge from capital K. It is a deputy of the unborn self, or Atman, in the forms of nature, the individual soul, supporting mind, life, and body, standing behind them, watching and profiting by their development and experience. Amazing. It inherited all those elements which were given, and by being there, it supports them, and by being there, they start growing, changing, evolving, and he learns from them, the psychic being, it learns from them how to be in time and space, and by profiting from that, it grows itself. If it can come forward into the front and govern overtly and entirely this outer nature of mind, life, and body, then these can be cast into soul images of what is true, right, and beautiful. And in the end, the whole nature can be turned towards the real aim of life, the spiritual victory, the supreme victory, the ascent into spiritual existence.
Like in Savitri.
Yes, yeah, Savitri is about transformation of these four emanations. So the spiritual transformation continues as we take the whole fallen being into our care of the psychic being. Notice how Sri Aurobindo speaks about it. The psychic being, he continues with the psychic, it's not something else. It's not some universal divine without psychic being. There is no such thing. There is no way to transform that fallen being without psychic being there. The psychic being can, by spiritual influx, enlarge itself and embrace the whole world in an intimate communion or oneness. or it may become aware of its own eternal companion, its own universal from which it was projected, Anandamaya, yes, Vishnu. Eternal companion to elect to live forever in his presence and in imperishable union and oneness as the eternal lover with the eternal beloved. Which of all spiritual experiences is the most intense in beauty and rapture? These are, experience of Kabir or Mirabai, seeing Krishna everywhere, Sri Aurobindo seeing Krishna in Alipur jail, in every being, in the bars of his cell. This is that intense bhakti, loving the divine in manifestation. All these are great and splendid achievements of our spiritual self-finding, but they are not necessarily the last end and entire consummation. More is possible, and more is to break to the transcendental. And those transcendental forces have to take charge of our life here in the body. And this is the last supramental transformation, the psychic transformation, again psychic, after rising into spiritual change, has then to be completed, integralized, exceeded, and uplifted by a supramental transformation. In supermind is the integrating light, the consummating force, the wide entry into the supreme Ananda, the psychic being uplifted by that light and force can unite itself with the original delight of existence from which it came, overcoming the dualities of pain and pleasure, delivering from all fear and shrinking the mind, life, and body. It can recast the contacts of existence in the world into terms of the divine Ananda. No more suffering, no more pain on the physical level. So this is it, basically. The material which I wanted us to keep in mind what we are dealing with. What is the Veda? What is the integral yoga? The rest are the facets of knowledge which are fitting into this picture. All of them are fitting. Yeah? All the paths of different traditions, they find their true place somewhere here in this grand scheme of things. Everything is here, can be found in the right place, and that is what I think is the knowledge knowing which everything is known. It's the key to open every knowledge, to get all understanding. This is actually the only thing which I am happy with. The rest is just discovery. Discover again and again and again. But you have a key. You understand what we are here for, what we are doing, our purpose as psychic beings. Our purpose is to manifest the divine, and nothing else. Here we are only to call by our psychic for these forces to come and to enlarge the capacity of the psychic and to come to the front and to support it and to make it grow and to occupy the whole world and finally to manifest the transcendental Satchitananda here in this world. So the rest is, additional, so to say. On the way. Yeah?
Just facets.
Facets of the... But once we understand what it is, I'm saying this all the time, repeating myself. Well, this is it. About the rishis, if we have a little time, since you asked, I made another presentation, PowerPoint presentation. Maybe we will come to it next time also.
Or we can just stay with this today.
Yeah, okay.
And just like go.
Yeah, because there are many names and what they did and whom they worshipped and why, and so on and so forth. And that is also a fascinating subject in the grand framework of this. Yeah? What the rishis were doing there, what victories they established for humanity to follow.
Yeah. No, this was very, very comprehensive.
I'm
And
glad.
yeah, makes it so clear. And the graphics you showed was just beautiful because the explanation that came with it, makes it very vivid and understandable in our language.
Yeah, mental language.
Yeah.
Right. We have, our mind has to understand what is here to do, at least, yeah, in terms of show me on fingers. This is kind of showing on fingers. That.
And this whole thing with the numbers, the whole thing with the numbers.
Right.
Like yesterday also you talked in the symbols about the numbers, the family of three, the first family. So
Right.
that is so clear here.
Yes, you can see this first family, Satchitananda, as a pure family. Yeah? So 1 + 2 is 3. This is an amazing thing because you don't have any other kind of in a row. We are dealing with symbols. Numbers are symbols, mental symbols. It's a mental language, which is universal because it is in every language the same. Yeah. So the order and the quality and the quantity totally match in 1, 2, 3.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
By the way, it is amazing because if you look into the rhythms of music, and this would be Dawn here would confirm, that we have only 2 different types of rhythms with varieties. They have many varieties, but the 2 major types which comprise all the varieties, and that is one is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. The same 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and many more varieties, 8 and so on. But it will be again 1, 2, 1, 2, one variety, and there is another 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and there is no more. No more varieties of rhythms. Only 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 waltz. Amazing. Because when you come 1, 2, 3, 4, it's already 1, 2, 1, 2. So here we are. Either waltz or rock.
And on another note, the 22 numbers, the major arcana in tarot.
Yeah.
The archetypes and the major arcana in the tarot.
This is all about that. Yes, there's arcana. I was surprised because I started to kind of follow this more precisely, looking how these laws actually project the major laws of all existence. Yeah, even in the language, if you take 21 cases of Sanskrit language and you match them with these 3, you will see amazing picture of manifestation. Yeah? So it is like the knowledge is inbuilt into some kind of mental formation. Mind is following something which it was given the task of manifesting the worlds in this particular format. It's not something without any mind or anything goes. It's not like that. The mind restricts it to particular laws and relations, which we have to understand. And they are everywhere, in the language, in the philosophy, in the physics, everywhere, the same laws. They are not different. We are bewildered because we think that everything, this infinity, allows any law. You know? And there are infinite laws. It's not true. They are limited laws, mental laws. These are only 7 laws.
Yes.
Amazing. We have limited laws of existence. Nobody wants to limit himself. They think, no, we are free to, we will discover some new law. And if you come to for example, artificial intelligence, you will find that they operate within the law 0 and 1 only. 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0. This is the language they use to describe all the processes. Is it not mental language? It is. Combinations, yeah, combinations are infinite, but the laws are limited.
I think to live with symbols and to recognize them in our life is very important, and it can open up so many fields.
Absolutely.
That's why they say the universe is arranged mathematically.
Yes, and musically. If you look at music, all the harmonies, and why there's 7 notes and why there are 12 varieties in between. What are these tunes? Why they are in the harmonics? If you start with the string and particular harmonics, 4th, 5th, and octave, you will be surprised how amazingly it is arranged. Yeah, everything. Music, mathematics, laws, linguistics, philosophy, everything falls into the lap of the mind, or the supermind, which operates by the mind. Yeah? So we are training our mind, our surface mind, to recognize those laws, and through them, as pointing fingers, to see or to experience the spirit, to bring it forward and to make it embodied. Yes, this is the means how we follow. Yes? From knowing the word or knowing the vibration through the word, or knowing the vibrations through the number within our, as an experience, we start embodying those spiritual powers in us, and by that growing and changing ourselves.
And Vladimir, Shraddhalu quotes Mother and says that when we do this and our mind opens up so much, actually the cells in the brain are growing and we can understand more and more. The capacity is actually growing. The cells are growing.
Yeah, or let us say the connections between neurons are activated. Yeah. Starts shining in the brain, and the brain becomes fully activated. Like
how beautiful!
100 capacity of the cerebral capacities. We are using only 10 or so, how many? 8% of our cerebral capacity. And have you seen this movie which is called Lucy?
Lucy, no.
Oh, I recommend.
On Netflix?
Yeah. Why? Lucy, because of the it is about one drug which activates the capacity, cerebral capacity, and this Lucy girl, who was totally dumb and down to earth, got this, and what happened to her? What transformation! It's a science fiction movie, but it is an amazing topic, yeah, of what is waiting for us as beings embodied in the body, how body can take full capacity of consciousness, which is inbuilt in it, but it is not activated. There is another movie also, something like Illimitable, which is also about this drug, which activates your brain neurons. And the guy could see everything, understand everything, connect everything. Everything what he experienced was and not experienced was available to him immediately whenever he needed it. This capacity of the memory to combine things in the right way is this apparatus inbuilt in the body, which we don't use. We abuse it rather than use it.
Just because you talked about memory, it came to my mind the other day. I was listening to Shraddhaluji's talk, Evenings with Shraddhalu, and he talked about how memory, how water, if you put something in water, the imprint remains in the water. It holds it as a memory.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was thinking our bodies are 70% water. So therefore, we are 70% memory. We can hold that much memory in us if we knew how to activate that and be with that. It also came to me that maybe people who don't drink much water, their memory begins to shrink up. I don't know the connection. It sounds
they
weird.
dry up. There is nothing, no memory.
So I started drinking more water.
Good idea. And what about Coke?
No, I don't take
No, Diet Coke.
sugar. Too much sugar. But yeah, water. So that kind of made a connection, and I was seeing the importance and significance of water as a container of memory in the body. And then this water is all through the body. It's not contained only in the brain. So memory is spread all through the field.
This is what reminded me what you said about, I immediately thought of so many stupid things I did in my life, which is inbuilt in the memory of the body. But then I thought I did also some good things, which are also inbuilt in the body. So, and then I thought, punya, what is punya?
Yeah.
Punya, that achievement or that memory in the body to drive you in the right way. And that's what education is about for the children. It would be so good if they would not build into their memory of their waters all that rubbish, which is actually they will struggle all their life with. But go straight to the truth. Well, that's what Mother wanted. That they will build right perception of things. And from there, that will support their progress very fast. They can go very far.
Children naturally. Sorry, Jan, please go ahead.
I was wondering if you could give an example of how we could recognize the symbol of 1, 2, and 3 in our lives.
Right. It is quite... it's actually inbuilt even in the meanings. Yeah. Sat is 1, Chit consciousness is 2, consciousness force. Yeah, 2 is always power, which or reflection upon oneself, or seeing what oneself is, or mirroring. The whole world is mirroring us. That's the symbolic recognition of oneself in the world. What we tried to do, what we introduced last time in our symbolism. So the world is me, but it is not yet fully me because it is not yet divinized. I am not divinized. So I'm dealing with it rather as symbols. Yeah? So symbols means that they are on the way to be the divine. Yeah? They are not totally the divine. That's the meaning of the symbol. Yeah? It is that the divine, but not yet totally. So it's not totally yet me, though it is me. The whole world is me. So this interaction with the world, interaction with oneself through consciousness is 2, or power, which I carry. Power is my conscious ability to deal with oneself. It's my self-mastery is my power. This is 2. And 3, what it produces, that self-mastery produces the delight. Yeah. As in the Gita, Krishna says, Atmanatmanam. He says, Uddharet Atmanatmanam. Yes, one should raise oneself by oneself. One should not put down oneself by oneself, because oneself is the friend to oneself, and oneself is the enemy to oneself. And if one is in the mastery or in the control of oneself, one becomes the friend to oneself. And when one is not in control of oneself, one hates oneself as the enemy. This is amazing if you think of it. Why we love ourselves or hate. What is that love of oneself? Is self-mastery. My consciousness power is in charge of my being. And that generates the delight.
Yeah.
So it is it's a simple example of the psychological treatment, but you can see it everywhere. I mean, you can see it objectively also. You can see it linguistically. Yes, to say anything that something is something, you need the self. The tree is. This is identifications. Consciousness is to be. So self is to be something. And this predicate, the tree is beautiful. So the tree is sat, is to be something, is consciousness power, and beautiful is Ananda. 1, 2, 3.
I wish they teach grammar this way in schools.
Yes, absolutely.
It would be beautiful.
Yeah. And easily understood.
Yes. And applicable.
Yes.
It's applicable to everything, because the mind then sees how it functions. The mind knows its own functionality without distortion, and looks for how is it there? We can always discover. You can take any example and it will be surprised that we will discover it right for the mind to understand and hold. Yeah. Great. Let's stop here for today and continue next time with rishis, I guess.
Thank you so much.
Vladimir. This was so
Enlightening class.
Thank you. See you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.